welcome back to the Not Carrie Bradshaw YouTube channel. In this video, I'm recapping episode 12 of season 6 of Real Housewives of Potomac. This episode was once again triggering and mess. And before we get into it, I'm going to very politely and graciously ask you to go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I'll wait. And at the conclusion of this video, if you like what you saw, which I'm pretty sure you will, hit the like button, share it with a friend. Okay, now that we got that housekeeping out of the way, let's get into the messy mess of this episode. So the main part of episode 12 is that Giselle and Robin are announcing their podcast, Reasonably Shady, to the women via a very confusing and egregiously tacky event. I think we're using event too loosely these days. Let's call it a gathering in a driveway. So before we get into that part, let's dive into a little bit of the pre, things that took place. Mia and her mom. I continue to say that I empathize with Mia a lot in terms of how she feels about her mom not being as available to her as she is to her siblings who have children and who maybe need a little bit more help. I can understand feeling a way that because you have more resources that you're being ignored. I also understand people's criticism of Mia that maybe she's being a bit needy because she is such an adult. But what I want people to understand is that you don't come to know the extent of your trauma until you become an adult, sometimes until you become a parent. We're constantly kind of learning and unlearning the things that have made us who we are. I am 34 years old, and there are things that I learned about myself in my childhood when I turned 30, and I'm still uncovering a lot of that in therapy at 34. It's an ongoing process. I think that we have to give some compassion and some grace and hope that Mia's awareness about how she's actively impacting her relationship with her mom gets activated, because you can't keep telling me I want to build a relationship with you, and then every time I see you, you're making me feel guilty about the kind of parent that I was, particularly if I'm a recovering addict and a formerly incarcerated person. Yes, you want to hold people accountable, especially your parents, especially your Black parents. You want to hold your parents accountable for the ways in which they may have failed you as a parent, but you also have to understand that a person is not going to want to build a relationship with you and spend time with you if every time they see you, they are reminded of their failures. And this is about the third episode of we're seeing Mia do this. Well, mommy, Mia is coming off as, you can honestly see her trauma playing out in this fact that she seems to need a certain amount of attention no matter how it comes. And we see that later in the episode, so we'll get to that. I also just want to say, Karen and these candles, I just continue to feel you're being shady in terms of knowing that this is something that Wendy wanted to do. And I still feel like if you knew the day that Wendy came to discuss the prospect of her candle business with you, her line of home essentials, whatever that means, Wendy, if you knew that the day she came there, you would have shared that with her, and you would have shared, oh, I'm doing something similar. I think you really got that idea from Wendy, and that's kind of okay, but be honest about it. It's like one of my favorite characters from Harlem Nights, RIP to Della Reese, but the character Vera Walker always said, I'm an honest hoe. Be an honest hoe. Be an honest whatever it is that you are. I'm not calling you a hoe, but whatever you are honest, whatever you are doing, be honest about it. Like, be honestly trifling. You did kind of take this idea from Wendy, but you already had the brand and the logistics set up to be able to execute your candle line ahead of hers. And that's just the truth. Tell the truth. Karen has a really hard time with honesty, especially in the moment. We'll see what happens at the reunion when she's confronted with this, because we're not all stupid. You're not finna treat us like we all dumb. We can all very clearly see what you got going on here. Okay, so Robin and Giselle have the convo about their launch party gathering in the driveway under a tent. I know that Giselle is tacky when it comes to style, when it comes to decor, but Giselle is also tacky when it comes to decorum. You do not invite people to your home or to any place where that level of construction is still being done. The noise alone is going to detract from your ability to converse. People can get nails in their tires. It seems like a safety hazard, really, to have people that close to an active construction site. You couldn't ask the guys to maybe like take this day off if you didn't want to pay for a venue. Y'all couldn't do this at Robin's house. Y'all couldn't do old school, like when I was growing up, people would have stuff at their neighborhood clubhouse. Do people no longer have clubhouses in their subdivisions? I just feel like there were several other not tacky options for how to have this gathering, that it wasn't under a tent, in a driveway, in an active construction scene. Moreover, how disrespectful, how tacky, how lacking in maturity that you weren't going to let these women use your bathroom. People with vaginas sometimes get periods. What did you want for those women to do in the event that their period came on and you wanted them to go and handle that in the woods? What a disgusting and tacky idea. And I was actually surprised, pleasantly surprised, that Robin pushed back on that she said to Giselle, like, you can't have people do that. You have to at least give them access to your bathroom. I just found that to be such a hateful and also like kind of a hazing thing to do. Like, Giselle still has the mindset that she's hazing people up. And watching a woman who is this age behave like this continues to baffle and horrify me. And I'm going to say, when the ladies arrived and Robin and Giselle were saying that people during the pandemic, people were asking them for a podcast, who were those people? Who wanted a podcast of Robin and Giselle being reasonably shady? That you think that Robin is reasonable is so bizarre to me. Where's the bar for reasonable? The bar for what makes a person reasonable must be in hell if you think that Robin is a reasonable person. What? A part of me is curious though. And it's not a curiosity that I'm going to explore. I'll let y'all tell me. But a part of me is curious if they are better at discussing topics away from the rest of the group. If you have listened to their podcast, drop down in the comments and let me know if they are like better people on the podcast away from the rest of the group, because I don't really want to hear their takes on anything. And let me say this, as someone who is a feminist, I don't have to like all women, and it doesn't make you anti-woman for a certain woman or certain women to not really be your brand of woman who you enjoy spending time with. I do not care for Robin and Giselle's characters on this show. I'm going to give them enough grace to say that maybe these are just characters that they're playing on this show, right? I still believe that they should have, rights and equal pay and, access to healthcare and all of those things. But these are not my brand of women. And I just want to be very clear that I'm not anti-woman for feeling that way, because that is something that I think about a lot. Is it okay for me to criticize these women's behaviors? But this is what they do for a living. So I'm still, grappling with that a bit. But these are not my brand of women. I don't enjoy women who gaslight other women in the way that we watch them gaslight Wendy. So a couple things happened during this gathering in Giselle's driveway. First of all, I want to give a shout out to production, because we know that if someone else had done this, Giselle would have ripped them to shreds in the confessionals. She would have judged everything that someone else did had they conducted an event in the manner in which she did. You broke your own foot trying to set this up? Like, was that not an indication to you that maybe this wasn't safe? I just love how every time Giselle made a judgy comment, the production zoomed out on her house. I also don't understand Giselle's home. Real estate is incredibly difficult right now. It's really hard to find a home within your budget, within a certain area. I get it. Sometimes it is cheaper, and I consulted with one of my friends about this. Sometimes it is cheaper to get just the bones of a house and then, you know, make those renovations. I just still don't understand. Her idea still isn't coming together for me. I simply don't understand the additions. I don't understand what the priority was. Was the priority not to have an entrance first over this west wing? I simply do not understand the aesthetic. I do not understand the methodology. I don't understand the construction schedule. Maybe that's not for me to understand. It's giving Chateau Charest, but at least with Chateau Charest, which one of my friends pointed out to me, we could see Chateau Charest coming together. I still don't understand Giselle's home. Fully, I don't. No. I also couldn't understand, I get really annoyed by people who have phantom haters. Who are these people that you speak of who are hating on you? A person having legitimate criticisms of you or holding you accountable does not a hater make. That's not a thing. You gotta grow up. Giselle and Robin continue to refuse to give Wendy any kind of grace. They refuse to be held accountable for the ways in which they have harmed Wendy. They refuse to let anything go. And what frustrates me the most about that is they are constantly dishing out behavior that they themselves would not take or receive. Again, like I said, the gaslighting is infuriating. I want to say to Candace, once Candace arrived, Candace got drunk real quick at a certain point. I was like, oh, Candace is drunk. Whenever Candace grabs an item and starts singing into it like a microphone, I'm like, Candace is drunk. You cannot, as an adult person, it looks so goofy to me for you to constantly be saying yo mama to responses. They, you know, we're playing this game of reasonable versus shady, which again, this just speaks to how lame Robin and Giselle are. But they wanted to bring up old shit and basically classify it as reasonable or shady. One of the things that they brought up was Mia going and talking with Candace's mom about whether or not Chris was being paid and, you know, whether or not he was on payroll. I think Mia was trying to justify it by saying, well, listen, when I showed up, it didn't look like anyone was managing the shoot and it looked low budget. And if Chris is the manager, then he shouldn't be paid because he wasn't there. I can follow that logic, but you still went about this in a really shady way. I also want to say, Wendy, it was okay for you to tell Candace that those conversations were being had, but maybe it wasn't the greatest thing to do to tell Candace those conversations were being had at the video shoot. Now, Candace was appreciative of Wendy letting her know that, but time and place. I will admit it wasn't the best time or place. Let her know that after the fact, just so we can get through the day. Mia, it just wasn't appropriate. And you continue to just look like a person who needs attention and who needs to stir the pot because you just want your presence to be known. It looks like you feel ignored by your mom to this day. You feel neglected by your mom to this day. So it looks like you seek out attention and to be acknowledged by whatever means. And that's some shit that you really need to work on. I can't diagnose anybody. I'm just saying like what my observations are. And it makes me sad because you shouldn't live your whole life being ruled by your trauma. It's just really no way to live. And there is a better way to live than that. But Candace retorting to someone, you know, when they were having that confrontation with yo mama, that is so juvenile and that is so lame. And I think that's why I used to look at Dr. Heavenly so sideways, because a woman of your age should not still be using yo mama as a clapback. Not only as an adult, I have several friends who have lost their moms, who don't have great relationships with their moms, who currently, you know, are enduring a certain amount of trauma due to relationships with their parents. As an adult woman, how do you not have more awareness of that? It's not, I don't think that Candace is aware of Mia's, you know, being in foster care and her relationship with her mom. And Ascala tweeted that actually as the episode was airing, that prior to watching the show, she didn't know about Mia's history with her mom either. So I will grant you that. But as an adult woman, you should not be retorting with yo mama anyway. Like, especially if you pride yourself on reading people and all this stuff like that, that's the best that you can come up with. That is so whack. And then for somebody who had PTSD from from Monique getting in your ass about how you talked to her last season, when are you going to learn that that's not okay? When are you going to learn how to talk to people? I'm exhausted with it. And I'll tell you something else. I'm exhausted with Ashley. Number one, I'm exhausted with the fact that Ashley's bra was showing. Why was everyone's bra visible? Giselle's bra was visible and Ashley's bra was visible. Ashley, I will grant you that you are a new mom to a second baby. Maybe it's a breastfeeding thing, but like we couldn't get a safety pin to pull that thing up in the back, or we couldn't just, you know, something. Everybody's bra was visible the whole time, and that was just so confusing for me. I want to say that the pattern of reality shows is, I think it's Lisa Rinna from Beverly Hills who says it's rage and regret. A person can forgive you, a person can accept your apology, but also not give you the same amount of access to them. There are many people in my life who have wounded me deeply, who I forgive, and I forgive them for myself so that I can know peace, because holding grudges holds you back from experiencing the fullness of life. That's something that I know firsthand. But just because I forgive you does not mean that you get to have the same access to me. And I think that on these shows where the pattern is, I'm going to do some messed up stuff for you, either because the producers told me to, or for ratings, or because I had a lapse in judgment, just because I apologize and you accept that apology does not mean that you should have the same level of access to me as you always had. That's just not how life works. That's not how any of this works. It's not appropriate. And I do also want to say, one of the things that Funky Dineva, shouts out to Funky Dineva, points out all the time in terms of the argument between Mia and Candace and Wendy and Ascala got involved. You don't get to do wrong to someone and then determine how mad they get. What Mia did was inappropriate and wrong. By conversing with Candace's mom about the dynamics of Candace's marriage. Moreover, of course, Candace's mom is always wrong. We know that. But you don't get to determine how I respond to you hurting me. But I just still want to emphasize that yo mama is not a reasonable, since we're talking about reasonable and shady, it's not a reasonable response. And why is it okay to be shady? Why does Giselle take pride in that? Such a beautiful woman at this age. Why do you take pride in being shady? I find that so weird. It's like people who take pride in being antisocial, or people who take pride in being petty. At a certain point, you're not any of those things. You're actually miserable. This threw me for a loop. Did y'all catch, and I know y'all caught it, when they brought up the Eddie rumors again, which is like, why won't y'all let this die? And then y'all bring this stuff up again and are confused about why Wendy is upset, but whatever. When Wendy said, was it okay for that site to mention that you had an STD? I didn't know nothing about that. And it's like, girl, let sleeping dogs lie. You got rumors out there like that about you, and you want to dig this up again for Wendy? My God. Discernment, Jesus, which we have to stop stigma about STDs and STIs anyway. But I was like, girl, when did that happen? What are these, where are these blogs that they speak of? Because again, I don't know anybody who heard those rumors about Eddie prior to this season airing. But also, girl, what happened where somebody violated HIPAA? Oh, child. Ashley jumping into gaslight Wendy. I am so fed up, and I'm going to say it does not look good. The optics don't look good that once again the light-skinned women are ganging up on the darker-skinned woman. It does not look good. I'm just going to say that. From a colorism perspective, that does not look good. Now, at the root of that, I don't know that colorism is at the root of that, but I'm going to tell you the optics, it don't look good. It don't look good that every chance y'all get, y'all are coming at Wendy and then judging her for how she responds. Now, I will admit, at the beginning of the season, Wendy was putting 10 on 2. Wendy was giving us a whole lot of unnecessary energy at the beginning of the season. She was coming off as incredibly insecure around Mia. But I will say that as the season has progressed, Wendy has calmed down. And I was so confused by like why Robin was just so, okay, well, just forget it because can't nobody say nothing to you. Da, da, da. Wendy was not even turned up. I didn't feel in any way that Wendy's response to them bringing up the Eddie rumors and bringing up her body work again or whatever, I didn't feel that her response was in any way non-congruent with the energy that they were giving. You don't get to call people out and then expect for them to graciously accept something that's not even constructive criticism. Y'all have a serious problem with what this woman has done with her body. And you won't let it go. Like, what is the issue here? I can't. I'm really here for Askale this episode. I want to learn more about Askale. I want to see more from Askale. I really appreciated that she was trying to hold Robin and Giselle accountable for the way that they were treating Wendy. And I wish that she had gotten a little bit more screen time to further explain and flesh out exactly what she was trying to say, because I was just really over the gang up, like the pile-on. It just wasn't cute. And Ashley, like, why are you this way? I've never been the biggest fan of Ashley, but my God, like, you leave a lot to be desired. I'm just going to say that. Karen felt like it was a good idea to bring up the cast trip that Wendy wants to host, a couples trip. And, you know, I'm very curious to see if Giselle and Robin will even be missed. I think this is going to be a really good test for whether or not the show can thrive without them and their mean girl energy. But Robin saying, you know, feeling a way that it's assumed that Juan won't come. Well, baby, Juan don't be outside. He don't be outside. This is just like, we didn't really see Jamal last season. We did see more of Juan. But Juan don't be with the shits. Juan don't be outside. It's reasonable to assume that he wouldn't come on this trip. So where's the shade in that? These are facts, sweetness. I also love that when they decided to go and look at Giselle's closet, why are all of the housewives who aren't really fashion girls getting these multi-level closets built and putting so much into so much money and effort into constructing closets for clothes that shouldn't be owned by anyone? You're not that girl, and I don't see the point. It's your money, spend it how you want to spend it, but get your front door settled before you build a closet for fashions that probably should have never even been made. Anyway, but I love that Askale was like, oh, I'm not about to embark on this hazardous journey down this slope and up these stairs in order to see your home. Send me a video. I was with Askale. When you are in heels, particularly stilettos, it is precarious to walk on a lawn, to walk on, you know, unstable, you know, ground. What was Candace's shoes? What were Candace's shoes? They looked bridal, and I did not understand them. I really liked the top. I thought it was very cute, but what were those shoes? And I'm just here for Askale. Askale was the hero of this episode for me, and I want to see more from her. I want to learn more about her. I want her to have a bigger role because she seems to actually be a reasonable person. So I'm really excited to see the next episode because we're going to see Candace once again get into another physical altercation. And I just love how we're continuing to see Monique Samuels be redeemed, vindicated through Candace's further future behavior. So that's this episode. It was a lot to unpack. yeah, let me know what y'all thought about it. Drop down in the comments. Are you listening to the podcast? How's it going for you? I'm not going to research that on my own. I don't want to invite that into my life unnecessarily. So if y'all tell me that it's worth a listen, I will listen, but I'm not about to go into that blind. Thank you for joining me. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, become a patron so that I can continue creating free content for this here channel. And I will see you guys next week. Bye.